Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rebel News live stream on this, a Monday, January 27th, 2025. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a little bit about my co-host, shall I? Do you know what, folks? My co-host wants to wish all of our Scottish viewers a very happy Rabbie Burns Day, which of course occurred on Saturday. In fact, to honor Scotland's greatest poet laureate, she was going to pen a poem herself, but she just couldn't come up with a rhyming line to the stanza, Hickory dickory dock. Oh, she is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is the sensational Sheila Gunn Reid. Hey, how you doing there, Sheila?
Oh, I'm still a little bit jet lagged and waking up a little bit too early. And I'm an early riser as it already is, but I'm still turned around from our incredible trip to Davos to cover the World Economic Forum. If people want to see and support our journalism from on the ground, you can go to wefreports.com. We were just cranking out content, so I'm sure you haven't seen it all. So you can see it there. But it's also, David, I am shocked, actually, that you did not choose today as Thomas Crapper Day, the inventor of the toilet. I'm shocked because that is low-hanging fruit for you. But it's also International Holocaust Remembrance Day or Memorial Day. So just another day that affects the Jews that Justin Trudeau failed to mention the Jews.
And on a serious note, we will be talking about that later. I mean, Holocaust Day, not Crapper Day. But in defense of Thomas Crapper, I think this is one of the most incredibly brilliant men in mankind's history, Sheila.
Yes.
I mean, the flush toilet. I mean,
yes.
Do you know, my theory, hear me out on this, and I want to get your take.
As you remember, we're about to flush the show down the toilet, so be careful.
No, it's going to be completely G-rated content. You will recall in the early days of the pandemic, what was there a run on? What one commodity was there a run on? It was toilet paper. You would go into a Dollarama, a grocery store. There's no toilet paper. Here's my theory, Sheila Gunn Reid. the one thing that differentiates Homo sapiens from all the other critters in the world is we don't do our business outdoors, right? We go into a little room and we have a little throne with water and we have toilet paper. And I think with when people heard about this pandemic, there's going to be a lockdown. Oh my God, I must get at least 1 year's worth of toilet paper because I don't want to go back to the animal kingdom. That's my theory.
I feel like you forgot about a whole portion of the world that still goes to the bathroom outside. But we should tell everybody what we're doing here. It's not just fun and games and random trivia about Thomas Crapper and the toilet. This is wherein we talk about the news of the week, completely unscripted. The show is on Monday. We're trying out a midweek show and then again on Friday. I say Monday, but usually it's the first business day of the week. So sometimes that could be Tuesday. And we take the stories as they come. Sometimes I don't know about David. I think maybe David does a little bit more show prep than I do because he's in the studio in Toronto and I'm sort of buzzing around my home office before I go on air. But sometimes you're getting our hot takes, our thoughtful takes, or cold takes, as is the case for me, because I haven't looked at a lot of the things on the show list. But you know me, I've got opinions and lots of them. And so we'll react together. We're talking about Mark Carney today. We're talking about Trump's plan to enlarge the United States and a shocking but not shocking report out of Alberta that recommends against the continued use of COVID vaccines. So we've got a lot to talk about. If you want to get involved, because I feel like these are hot topics for all of our people. If you are watching us on YouTube, thanks for sticking it out there. It is a censorship platform, though. They won't let us speak our minds. They won't let you speak your mind, although that could be changing soon. But continue to punish them by taking your viewership somewhere else over to a great free speech platform that doesn't care about your politics. It's called Rumble. It's very much the same style of user-friendly interface that YouTube is, minus all the totalitarian Orwellian nonsense. So if you want to support the work that we do, go on over to Rumble because YouTube won't let you leave a super chat for us anymore. They've demonetized us by and large. So if you want to support our work, you can leave us a paid chat on Rumble. It's called a Rumble Rant. If your paid chat is over the $5 US cutoff, I'm obligating us to hereby read it and respond to it on air, but don't let that be the bar for entry. We frequently have time or make time for those of you who give a little bit less. I understand that times are tough. Justin Trudeau's picking your pocket. So we appreciate whatever you choose to give us because every little bit helps us. We're not like the mainstream media that Trudeau bought and paid for mainstream media. Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah. And
sorry,
Sheila,
go ahead, David.
Before we jump into Alexandra Lavoie's report on Mark Carney, I just wanted to say you said something at the beginning of the show. You were in Davos. You were cranking it out. I'm not going to pat myself on the back. I'm going to pat you and Leapin' Lincoln Jay and Benji and Avi and, of course, the big boss man. It wasn't just quantity. It was quality. And there's the BlackRock head
Larry
honcho
Fink
himself. Boy, did that ever get picked
That
up.
guy's a master of the universe. I told, because Ezra's like, how do I describe him to, like, how would I describe him to a teenager? And I'm like, if Monty Burns went global, like that.
And I'll tell you something, maybe to the point where he thinks the laws don't apply to him or his staff. I lost count of the number of times that security guard thug gave Avi a jab. And, it's funny, Sheila, I can take this abuse out in the field, but when I see it happening to my colleagues, I blow a gasket. And, but that was fantastic journalism. And I got to tell you, this being the third year in a row we've gone to Davos to do these kind of fourth. I stand corrected. And you know what I find amazing? Yeah, sure. Fink had two of his minions with him. I'm surprised guys with that kind of wealth don't have a complete entourage encircling them so that you can't get anywhere near them. I'm always shocked. I guess it's a matter of, that is not a household face, Larry Fink. I always think it's so amazing you guys recognize these cats. And maybe they just think, oh, it's just a 7-minute walk to the pub. Nothing's going to happen. But something always happens, at least when Rebel News is there, right, Sheila?
Yeah. It's like that there, though. And they're on it. Like, would you know what Larry Fink looks like? Like, if somebody said pick Larry Fink out of a lineup, you've got to be spotting. You've got to be reading name tags. They have these name tags, and certain colors are for VVIP. So, if you see a tag, you start Googling right away, who is that guy? And sometimes you just know the names, right? Like Larry Fink, Lawrence Fink, as his name tag said. Like you see that and you already know, but you have to, I don't know what Larry Fink looks like. You read his name tag and then you're like, oh, I know this man's a war profiteer. He is the woke industrial complex also. BlackRock, really, they are the masters of the universe. They control everything. $11 trillion in funds and assets that they control. That's larger than a lot of governments' economies. And you have to know about what they're up to. Like Larry Fink, his companies sell weapons on one side, and then on the other side, they come in and say, hey, pay us to fix this country after it was blown up. It's really fascinating how he has the supply chain fixed from beginning to end. But on his security costs, after Vivek Ramaswamy said he is the chief of the woke industrial complex, he doubled his security costs. Now, he doesn't use it as much in Davos as he does at home, but I think he's billing the shareholders like $1 million a year for his security.
Oh, come on, Sheila, that's chump change. I mean,
that's what I thought.
Fink finds that lying around between the cushions in his sofa, for goodness sakes. $1 million? What's $1 million? As you said, we're talking trillion with a T, not even billion with a B. And you're right. I think 11 trillion, wouldn't that be maybe 11 times the size of the Canadian economy?
That's right.
Unbelievable. Well, anyways, speaking of scrumming, why don't we go to Alexa Lavoie's? She had
let's talk about why this is important before we show the video. Mark Carney won't talk to media, which makes him the perfect successor to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, right? Yep. He especially won't talk to independent media. We saw he called the cops on our alumnus Key and Bexty and the Western Standard and True North at his campaign launch in Edmonton, one of the freest places to do journalism in this entire country. So that's the attitude we're getting from Mark Carney. So it's very difficult. And even the mainstream media are getting annoyed with him. But he's the Frankenstein monster they created. They had this needle in their hand, sewing the arms and legs onto that creature. And once he got struck with lightning and starts marching through the village, they're all like, what's that guy doing? You did it, guys. Yeah. But Alexa Lavoie was on the ground in Quebec to put some questions to him. And she did a great job. Let's watch.
Mr. Carney, sorry. Mr. Carney, why are you lying to Canadians saying that you're an outsider when you're the ultimate insider? Why are you lying to Canadians?
Je ne suis jamais une députée, madame. Alors,
you are the special advisor to Trudeau.
Pourquoi tu parles anglais
Because we are an English news outlet, and you know it. But why are you lying to Canadians saying that you're an outsider? When you return as a prime minister, are you going to cut ties with the World Economic Forum?
J'en ai pas.
You have been invited multiple times Mr. Carney, don't touch me. Mr. Carney, what are your thoughts on the fact that Chandra Arya was removed from the race?
C'est bon ça.
What do you think about that? Are you going to ask Alberta to stop selling oil to the United States to fight against the trade war? If you become the prime minister, are you going to do that?
On va gagner. Ouais, regarde, on a déjà vu le Cataract va gagner, le Canada va gagner.
Mr. Carney, why are you literally lied to Canadians saying that you're an outsider? Can you stop?
No.
Who are you?
I'm
Who are you? Who are you?
Je marche pour entrer.
No, you don't have to stop me.
Je marche
You don't
pour
have to
entrer.
stop me.
Je marche pour entrer.
Oh, Sheila, where do I even begin? First of all, to your point of the media being shunned, the Mark Carney campaign is a lot like going to a Yoko Ono concert. It starts out badly and then proceeds to get horrid. You mentioned his campaign launch in Edmonton. The mainstream media, including our alumnus, Kian Bexley, frog marched out by law enforcement. But the mainstream media was there. I can tell you the day before Alexa scrummed Carney, I was in Toronto in the beaches to see him come for an event hosted by Nate Erskine-Smith, the MP for Beaches, East York. And I understand he's now a cabinet minister. Funny how that is. They're literally running out of people. But I can tell you, Sheila, to my shock, and I'll say this, not necessarily my delight. They say misery loves company. I say it ain't so. The mainstream media, as well as the independent media, had to stay outside this pub on a frigid day. And, you know, I see what they're doing. They want the optics to look like it was standing room only, and it was standing room only. Yeah, this pub maybe seats 50 or 60 people, Sheila. It's tiny. You blink and you miss it. And I want to give kudos to Alexa because she was fortunate enough to find him doing maybe a football field or two walk to the venue. With me, alas and alack, I was on Queen Street East. An Audi whipped up. Carney jumped out and kind of like, well, Barry Allen, Wally West, Jay Garrick. Do you know who I'm talking about, Sheila? These are all the alias for various incarnations of the Flash. He literally ran into the pub, and I and other media barked out a question, none of which was answered. But that's my first observation, which is very odd. If you're running for Liberal leader and presumably prime minister, don't you want to get your name and your policies out there? Apparently not, which leads me to believe this is a coronation. And as it pertains to Alexa, Sheila, I'm getting a little sick and tired of this mansplaining in Quebec, whether it's Carney or Stéphane Guilbeault. Oh, you're in La Belle Provence, speak French. No, she'll speak whatever the hell she damn well please. Yeah. And there's a very good reason, and she gave it. I work for a predominantly English-speaking news organization. Your thoughts?
These Liberals have a real problem with women speaking their minds, don't they?
Yep.
I'm glad you mentioned Nate Erskine-Smith because soy has done something to that vegan's brain. And this touches on everything that you just mentioned, including the fact that Mark Carney refuses to speak to media. So what did Melissa Lantsman do? Since all the media were there and they had nobody to talk to at Nate Erskine-Smith's event, she decided to jump in front of the cameras and start talking about Mark Carney. And it was brilliant until Nate Erskine-Smith, full of soy and P&V, came out and started putting his hands on her. So watch this. This is something that would get, at the very least, a drink poured on you in any pub in Alberta and probably get you punched in the face by a male friend of the woman you were doing this to. Watch this.
Welcome to the Beaches, East York.
Thank you. I want to know what you promised Mark Carney.
I'm going to buy you a drink.
Perfect.
And
we want to know what Mark Carney what Mark Carney promised Mr. Erskine Smith for him.
Welcome to BCC Stewart.
Sheila.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead.
forget about getting a drink poured on you in a bar. You know, yesterday I finally took some time off and I watched the AFC and NFC finals. And if a defending player was doing that with the hands to a wide receiver, there's going to be a flag on the field. That is a 10 or 15-yard penalty. What is all this handsy business? I mean, like that's astonishing. But again, I guess when your head honcho is blackface himself, she experienced it differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I guess
Exactly.
it's a different standard.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, let's not kid ourselves. He didn't sexually grope her or anything, but he did. She's talking to the media.
Yep.
He gets into the frame, touches her, and asks her to go for a drink. Well, she's talking to the media. Like, it's very disrespectful. She's trying to get rid of him. He does it again. I think it's just weird. Now, like Melissa Landsman's no shrinking violet. If you watch her appearances at committee and in the House of Commons, she is a woman who can hold her own. But I'm not playing the victim card here. But if you flip this, and this is Michael Barrett doing this to Melanie Joly.
Oh, yeah.
And my goodness, could you imagine the media outrage? Michael Barrett would have to resign. He would.
Oh, yeah, media outrage. Sheila, I think as we speak, there would be a royal commission being formed, sort of along the lines of sexual harassment and manhandling to female journalists in Canada. Stay tuned for the 198-page report to come out in 10 months. It's a complete double standard, but do you see anyone on the left going to the defense of Melissa Landsman?
No. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I saw a senior advisor to the Prime Minister's office basically blaming her. Like, what were you doing at Carney's announcement? Her politics were her skirt was too short. Like, it's ridiculous.
By the way, that's exactly where I was. That pub was across the street. So Nate Erskine Smith, the mad vegan, as you call him, he crossed the street in frigid temperatures without even a jacket on.
Dangerous for a vegan.
Yeah. So it wasn't, there was a large degree of separation. And yeah, I know we live in a dominion where, it's supposed to be on a sidewalk in a public square. That's considered free space. But we've seen under blackface and Chief Demke in Toronto, there is a new standard for that as well. So, if you weren't looking for Melissa Landsman, Sheila, the people in that pub would not have noticed her, right? She was across 4 lanes of traffic.
Yeah. I mean, this is just how the Liberals are. So a woman is making a point and you've got to shut her up. I mean, that's what Carney tried to do to Alexa. It's what Nate Erskine Smith just tried to do to Melissa Landsman. It's what Justin Trudeau does to every woman who ever questions his supreme authority. But carrying on, sorry, we're going to run out of time, David. I know you have things to say. We're going to run out of time. And I want to get to Mark Carney. Does anybody know what he's going to do if he wins? He's the front runner, and no one has a clue what any of that means whatsoever. He hasn't released a platform. We don't know what he's going to do with the most unpopular Liberal policy in the country, the carbon tax. We don't know what he's going to do on immigration, housing, Trump tariffs, nothing. We have no idea. But the Liberals are like, he's the guy to lead. Can you imagine? But anyways, we've got a video from, I think it's CTV journalist Camille Karamali. And he was able to run into Carney, it sounds like.
Mr. Carney, why haven't you announced the policy yet? Mr. Carney. Mr. Carney, why haven't you announced the policy yet?
I've got lots of policies. You'll see them.
Yeah, but why haven't you? You could be prime minister in a matter of weeks. Why wouldn't you tell the Canadian people what they're in for?
Canadians are going to know exactly what we intend to do by the end of the leadership, and we're going to roll it out, and they're going to be detailed. And that's the difference between sitting in a room coming up with some slanders and slogans and actually having detailed policy that are going to make a difference for Canadians.
Would you scrap the carbon tax? Yes or no? Yes or no?
You'll see by the end of the week.
Yes or no,
You'll
sir?
see by the end of the week. Follow me
Not-
for the week.
Really called you the PMO's choice for leadership. What's your
I
response?
seem to be the choice of many of the Liberal MPs. So.
There's that black Audi SUV
Yeah.
that he popped out of when I tried to scrum him. Sheila, I was amongst that media mob on that frigid sidewalk, listening through a window, if you can imagine. I'm not making this up, Sheila, what he had to say. By the way, the meeting began. I call him as I see him. It was high energy. Nate had his loyal minions, really cranked up. Here's the funny thing, Sheila. I think Carney spoke for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. The longer he spoke, I mean, it is fitting that it's, Thomas Crapper Day. It was like the sound of a flush toilet. The energy was being sucked out of that room.
Yes.
Whenever, he had these lines where he's pausing, thinking, give 3 seconds for the applause. No applause, nothing. And the one thing he said, to your point, about, not saying anything, he said, as I crisscross Canada speaking to Canadians, oh, really? You don't even speak to the media. Anyways, they have 2 things causing them anxiety. One is the cost of living. 2 is the housing crisis. And then he moved on to another subject. Well, what are you going to do about the cost of living and the housing crisis? Nothing. It's fitting he had that event in a pub, because that was a nothing burger with cheese, and all the Clara Pellers in the audience were saying to themselves, hey, where's the beef?
Yeah. I reiterate your point that he is dangerously boring. Like, he is an energy vampire, and it's like, you can be just jazzed, excited, and then he starts talking, and it's just like your life force is being bled from you as he talks. I don't know how to describe it any better than that. He is an exhausting individual. And if for 1,000 different reasons he should not lead this country, that's the number one for me, because I'll be forced to listen to him through the course of my job. And I don't think I have the life force to be able to do it.
Oh, no, that's danger pay. And Sheila, I must make one other very important point, I think, on the Carney file vis-a-vis freedom of the press. Last January, when Greg Dumichel of the Mounties, aka Uncle Fester, assaulted me and falsely arrested me, just days later in Davos, our beloved boss man, Ezra Levant, came up to scrum Carney. And to Carney's credit, he didn't run away. He didn't take the Sergeant Schultz treatment.
Yeah.
And Ezra said, what do you make of what happened to me? I've got the quote right here. Quote, it was the wrong thing. It was absolutely the wrong thing. End quote. How in the space of 12 months did Mark Carney turn into Fraulein Freeland when it comes to dealing with the media?
Actually, maybe, Olivia, you can find that while we go on to the next thing. When we were sitting in Davos, and I was thinking about how Mark Carney is the epitome of Davos man, I thought, you know what, let's patch these two together. Let's grab him saying, I believe in freedom of the press, and then his treatment of independent journalists at his campaign launch. Mark Carney in Davos with his mucky muck friends, where he can't call the cops because the Davos police are like, no, they're journalists. Who cares?
Wow.
He couldn't pull any of that shit there. The Davos police are like doves when it comes to journalists. But in Canada, we know how quickly you can call up Justin Trudeau's authoritarian police and they'll bust the heads of journalists. So he knew there was no other answer when he was in Davos, because you don't have the police backing to do what you want to do to Ezra Levant there. Here, I think we found it.
Gotcha.
If this was Canada, you could have him arrested.
Did you see that? Your rival, Chrystia Freeland, had one of our reporters arrested. I don't think she did. I think.
Oops.
Oh, we're having.
She didn't say a word against it.
On the incident, as you guys know very well, Canada is a rule of law country. Canada is a democracy. Operational decisions about law enforcement are taken by the police of jurisdiction. Quite appropriately, political elected officials have no role in the taking of those decisions. And that's why I don't have any further comment.
It was the wrong thing. It was absolutely the wrong thing.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Look, freedom of the press. I've
We're friends already.
I've been a public figure in Canada, been a public figure in the UK. I know you got to answer tough questions, and you guys, you ask tough questions, and that's fair.
Well,
I know you got to
That's
answer
not-
tough questions.
That's not quite the video that I was looking for. There's one where we cut it over the last few days where it was like that, and then it was like a record screech, and then going to him calling the cops on Cian Bexley. But I think you get the point. Like this, he'll say whatever it takes because I don't think he believes in anything but power.
Whether it's Cian Bexley, yours truly, Alexa Lavoie, that's one thing. But as I witnessed ringside on Saturday, even the mainstream media, even the CBC was banished to a cold Queen Street sidewalk and forced to look into a window to try to hear what Carney was mumbling about. What's your take on that? I think I might have mentioned, I think this shows the fix is in, that this is going to be a coronation, and that Carney's election strategy is much like Joe Biden in 2020. Stay in the basement, don't do press conferences, don't get caught in any lies, any misstatements, and just give me my crown, please, Squire. That's my theory. I don't know what else it can be.
That is a brilliant segue into proof positive of your theory. And so this is from Chandra Arya, the Liberal MP who was running in the leadership. I don't really know much about him except he's a 3-term Liberal MP, and he got in a fight with a Sikh member of parliament, and he's an Indian member of parliament, and they were fighting with each other about a declaration over something that was happening in India, but it somehow made its way into the Canadian parliament, and we were all supposed to care. And then he said that he was being threatened and bullied, and that very well could be true. But that's the only reason this guy is on my radar, is just he's sort of in the realm of foreign interference in our politics. And I'm not saying that he's doing it. He might be the recipient of it. And I have my theories about why the Liberals booted him. But they have blocked his candidacy, the Liberals have. Now, he said, today I was informed by the Liberal Party of Canada that I will not be permitted to enter the leadership race. While I await their official communication, I'm carefully considering my next steps. This decision raises significant questions about the legitimacy of the leadership race and, by extension, the legitimacy of the next Prime Minister of Canada. Now, I kind of liked this guy because he's like, before he said, yeah, I'm not learning French. I don't care. So I was like, you know what? Good for him. Although I wish he had kind of been stronger in his English language skills when he was saying that. But here's my problem with this. He was good enough to have his nomination papers signed once, twice, thrice by the party, which means he was good enough to serve as a member of parliament. And if you could serve as a member of parliament, surely to hell you could be the prime minister. I mean, it makes him 3 times more qualified than Mark Carney, who's never held a seat in the House of Commons. But they, I think, are blocking him because he might do what I think Patrick Brown tried to do, and that is amass a cultural vote, because there's really no bar for entry to the Liberal Party, and he could take that. And no, I'm not saying he could win the leadership, but he could probably be a kingmaker, and he could steal that away from Mark Carney.
Oh, Sheila, I disagree. I don't think this is a cultural or tribal thing at all. I think what is happening is people who aren't Liberals are signing up as Liberals, and to take
I think it's both.
Yeah, out of the Liberal Party
both.
of Canada, they're voting for him, right? And in the day and age of the internet, you know what? I mentioned this to you in the morning meeting. If you go back to 1998, People Magazine, it was doing some kind of a poll online, and I think it was the most beautiful person of the century. And now what they were hoping for was some, A-list star from celebrity culture, like, Brad Pitt or George Clooney or Angelina Jolie. Instead, what happened? The Howard Stern Show, which has a massive audience, reached out to their listeners and told them to vote online for a whack packer called Hank the Drunken Angry Dwarf. And he comes as advertised. He's a dwarf who is always angry and always drunk.
Seamus?
No, not Seamus O'Regan. But the point is, Sheila, Hank was winning. And what People Magazine did at the 11th hour is, read the fine print. We get final say. So his votes were wiped out and they got somebody. I think Olivia has the, there you go, people's most beautiful person in the world. The exact same thing happened here.
You know what?
How do I know this?
This is not that far. Like, this could be published today. And people would consider it seriously in the world of like fat acceptance and winning women's best awards.
I never thought of that.
This guy could definitely be the most beautiful person in the world in 2025.
But I'll tell you, this isn't conjecture, Sheila. I know from Lady Menzoid and all of her friends, they signed up and they voted for Chandra. And believe me, this has nothing to do with Indian culture or tribalism.
I guess they're on Team Ruby now.
You know what? That was the big discussion. Now that Chandra's gone, who do we go en masse towards? And, in terms of the lower lights, Sheila, to me, it's between Ruby and what's his name?
Frank Bayless?
No, the other one, the guy that had those negative words about Indigenous women, even though he's Indigenous himself. Where's the hammer and sickle communist? Batiste.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, Jamie Batiste.
Jamie Batiste, that's it. So I don't know if you were trying to rock the boat, Sheila. Who would you and your entourage vote for?
I would pick Ruby Dalla because the woman's got gall, just gall. Do you remember she was involved in that scandal with her Filipino nannies wherein they accused her of keeping their passports so they couldn't leave? Like, she was accused of modern day slavery. Yeah. Now, that's not why I like her. I think that's horrific. But perfectly liberal, because they definitely do believe in an immigrant underclass of people, a servant class in this country. But I love what a catfish she is. Did you see her official campaign launch? Like, I don't use a filter. You were just getting Sheila as she is. Yeah. Because I don't want you to meet me in real life and say, like, God, who the hell is it? Like, what? You don't look like yourself. So Ruby Dalla, her official campaign picture is just, I thought it was AI when I first saw it. No, it's not here. Scroll down. This is how she actually looks. Look, no, yes, that picture. Ruby for leadership.
Wow.
That's not Ruby Dalla.
No, I didn't say it in that way. I said it in the sense of, if you didn't tell me who that was, I would say that's AI. Too much plastic surgery or AI.
It's not. It's filters. Like, definitely Ruby's done some things to her face. Whatever. Who cares?
It doesn't look real though.
But this is not real. This is Photoshop galore. And so I kind of like that she's just trying to catfish the entire Liberal Party. If we can bring up a video of her talking, I think she did a video with the CBC, maybe CTV, on the day she launched. And like, Ruby's 50. She's 50. Oh, she looks good for 50. She's obviously done some things, whatever. But she does not look like that AI generated catfish thing that we just looked at. Like, it's so outrageous. If you were going by photos, you would have no idea that that's Ruby Dalla at all.
Wow.
That's Ruby. That's Ruby right there. Like, she looks nothing like that other photo.
It's a different woman. I'm telling you. It is a different one. And Sheila, to me, that AI, that photoshopped image of hers that is the official campaign photo, if you will. To me, I mean, there's two things I watch as a guilty pleasure. One is my 600-pound life. The other is
Me
my,
too.
90-day fiance. And it's because, folks, when I'm feeling depressed, if I want to pick me up, if I want motivation to get my fat candy ass into the gym and work out, I'll watch 600-pound life. For the depression, I'll watch 90-day fiance. And I'll go, you know what? Lady Mensoid, she ain't that bad at all, really. But there's a character there called Darcy. And anyone that knows this show, like Darcy probably has more plastic surgery in her body than the value of my house. And there's a weirdness. It's almost, it's like it's a different species. And
Yeah,
I'm talking about
it's
things
uncanny.
where, and by the way, Sheila,
You're in the
never do
uncanny
this.
valley with these people. Like
Pardon
they're
me?
in the you're in the uncanny valley.
Yes.
Between like reality. It's like a robot tried to create a human and didn't quite get it right.
And first and foremost, with these 90-day fiance plastic surgery addicts is, and I don't know why they do it, because I swear, Sheila, I don't know any male in my circle that says, oh, that's so attractive. They get these injections in their lips and they look like duckbills. It's no longer a chick, it's a duck-billed platypus. So you gotta wonder, when Darcy is always crying because her man is leaving her yet again, maybe deflate those lips. And I gotta tell you, I see those
Oh
are,
my Lord.
you know
watched
what? It's gone beyond that now. Olivia, nice try, but there might be some newer ones where it's even more enhanced than that. Sheila, is this for the, to get compliments from other women? Because I don't know a single
No.
man that says, oh, that's great. Look at that. Yikes.
That's the thing though. You are, look, I realize I'm not for everybody either, but you are attracting a very niche type of man that enjoys that. And look, I'm not for everybody. I'm unruly. I dress a certain way. My hair, it does not behave. It doesn't line up for the water fountain. You know what I mean? It's just doing its own thing. I get it. But you only a certain kind of, like 5 guys in the world might like that. And you quickly run out of them.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
I'll tell you this, Sheila. Don't ask me how I know this, but the last time I saw lips like that, it was on a doll at a downtown.
I
Toronto
gotta
shop
do an
called
ad read.
Seductions.
I know I have to do an ad read, and I don't know why you're doing that. Okay, let's do an ad read, and then we'll get on to the other stuff. It's from stickerpack.com. Are you ready to show your support in style? Sticker Mule has a fantastic offer just for you. For a limited time, you can grab free Trump stickers. Yes, you heard that right. Free. Whether you want to decorate your laptop, car, or office space, these high-quality, durable stickers are perfect for making a statement. Just imagine how great they'll look, and they're super easy to apply. Here's how it works. Head on over to stickerpack.com. That's PAC, like Political Action Committee. Sign up and claim your free stickers and watch the fun unfold. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Stock is limited, so act fast. Spread the word and let your voice be heard with Sticker Mule's awesome stickers. Once again, visit StickerPack, that's PAC.com today. Grab your free Trump stickers before they're gone. Okay, we've got a quick Dave is sure grabbing up the Ruby Dalla clips. She looks nothing like those AI generated photos of her. I don't know. Again, I kind of like her moxie. Nana Awake gives us $10. Look at that. Ruby Dalla. Who is that woman? Oh God. My cat. Okay. Well, we're just going to have the cat for a second. Okay. Nana Awake gives us $10, says not sure why journalists are hung up on not getting hint on Carney's policies. Just look at the joint WEF UN 2030 agenda. It's already laid out in clear detail. Yeah, that's the thing with the Liberals, right? Their two front runners are WEF's choices for Canada. They've penetrated the cabinet. What a gross way of describing infiltration. No matter which way the Liberals vote, we're getting the WEF in charge of this country, at least for a very short term. Get out of here, Trigger. Go.
What a beautiful cat.
It's Trigger. All righty. I knew. Oh God. You know what? I'll just leave him. I'm just gonna leave him because the dog opened the studio door. What a Monday! This day has a case of the Mondays.
He
All right.
missed you, Sheila. You're
Oh
off
my
in
God.
Switzerland being a Swiss
Now he's
miss, and
zooming in.
you know it's got separation anxiety.
Oh God, he is gonna have done. He's auto framed me. Okay, let's turn that off. He's pressed a bunch of keys on the screen. Okay, David, let's move ahead. Let's go to Alberta. Let's go to the Redux story first while I
Please.
straighten out what the cat has done to my studio. Redux. A trans-identified male in Alberta has been charged with sexually assaulting at least 4 women after being permitted to stay in a women's shelter in Edmonton. David, take it away while I throw the cat out.
Yeah, holy Cody Detremont. This is a man who was permitted to stay in a women's shelter, and shockers, knock me down with a feather, folks. He allegedly assaulted multiple women in that shelter. Sheila, as you know, last summer I went to Windsor to cover the 3-day trial of Cody Detremont, who identified as Desiree Anderson, sounds like a burlesque performer, got into a women's shelter and allegedly raped a woman. I sat through that Windsor courthouse. There was only one other media there, CBC, which covered it disgracefully. Remember, this is supposedly a chick now, folks. He actually has a beard. He can't even be bothered to shave. And nowhere in the CBC report, and never mentioned by the prosecution or the defense attorney or the judge, was that this was a biological male staying in a woman's safe space. That is the elephant in the room. And it got whitewashed. And at the end of the day, I do have a point leading up to this story, Sheila, is that Cody Detremont, the judge, who was a female herself, said in her ruling, I find the complainant credible, but not reliable. Sheila, I'm having a difficulty with the nuance of those two words. I think they're pretty much the same thing. Anyways, not guilty. And I, for one, think it was the whole transgender crap that swayed the judge that way. What I'm getting to, Sheila, somebody in our Alberta team, and if no one's available, fly me out there. I want to cover this trial. Because, you know, the mainstream media, you know, even though this is a guy and he's got his wedding tackle firmly affixed, folks, his twigs and berries, as the saying goes, you wait. They're going to refer to him with the female name he's taken. Look at that full beard, just like Detremont. They're going to use the female pronouns. No. You need somebody like Rebel News or some other credible independent media organization to go in there. And a lot of you might know this already. Cody Detremont, that was a he, then a she. Now she identifies as a cat. Whether it's a male cat or a female cat, you got me, folks. I just report the facts as I see them.
Well, and that's the thing. There is only one single sex women's shelter in this country. It's Vancouver Rape Relief. In 2019, it was stripped of its funding. Because it was funded by the city of Vancouver after asserting it had a right to provide services exclusively to women. Trans activists successfully lobbied the Vancouver city government to make the shelter's funding contingent on accepting males who identify as transgender. But to their credit, they didn't bend. They are repeatedly targeted by trans activists who have even nailed dead animals to the charity shop door, and the funds from the charity shop support the women's shelter. This is a place where women and children fleeing violence can go, and they are nailing dead animals to the door. That's how crazy these people are.
Unbelievable. And, you know, Sheila, the reason why we have to have somebody in there when this trial begins is, you know, because unfortunately we do not allow cameras into Canadian courtrooms. I can tell you that Cody / Desiree / Morris the cat got away with murder on the stand. He was consistently rolling his eyes. He was scoffing. And at one point, and I talked to a Windsor Police Service officer, so he saw it too. I wasn't imagining things. He gave the complainant the middle finger, right? Absolutely outrageous. I think if you weren't a trans woman, trans cat, whatever you want to call this mental case, the judge would have put an abrupt end to that, with saying one more outburst like that and it's contempt of court. But no, let's get along to go along, blah, 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 blah. Absolutely shameful. So please, Sheila, I'm begging you, I think on behalf of our viewership, will somebody be there to cover this trial?
Hopefully, if Ezra has not deployed me to something else, but I can't think of anything more important that I would be doing. Let's skip ahead because we're quickly running out of time. From Alberta, and if you are in Ontario, Saskatchewan, or another province allegedly led by a conservative, ask yourself where your report is. So Alberta commissioned a task force on the COVID vaccines and the deployment of the COVID vaccines and COVID vaccine policies, including masks and vaccine passports. And this was one of the things we threw Jason Kenney out because of. But it's also one of the things that Danielle Smith was chosen for, was for her support of people to choose a different way when it came to the vaccines. And she's been so firm in that she has included vaccine status into our Alberta Bill of Rights. So you cannot be discriminated on in Alberta based on your vaccine status. So this task force, the report was complete 5 months ago. It was never released. I think that has a lot to do with the medical deep state that still remains at Alberta Health Services. They did this to us. Why would they want us to know what they did? Right? But it was published on the government website, it's the Open Alberta, I think, website, on Friday, late Friday, like after the workday. I only read it when I was laid over at the Calgary airport for like 3 hours on my way home from Davos. And so this is directly from the task force's report. The task force recommends halting the use of COVID-19 vaccines without full disclosure of their potential risks, ending their use in healthy children and teenagers, conducting further research into their effectiveness, establishing support for vaccine-injured individuals, and providing an opt-out mechanism from federal public health policy. That last one is powerful. As people on Twitter or X point out, we live in a country where authorities will pull millions of eggs off the shelf if 3 people get sick. Yet they continue to promote a vaccine that is far from being safe and effective. Thousands of people were injured. Thousands of healthy Albertans, young working age men by and large, who took this vaccine because they were given the choice, as if it's any choice at all, get unemployed, lose your house, and not be able to take care of your kids, and then quite potentially fall into absolute social disarray, or take this vaccine that we probably know isn't going to do anything and could even hurt you. Anyways, I said this is the evil legacy of Jason Kenney's coercion. Healthy people were killed or harmed for nothing.
Where is he these days?
Exactly. He should be made to answer for this.
Yeah.
He did this to us. And they knew a lot more than what they were saying. But now we know in Alberta, and I think what Alberta's report, the conclusions will be very helpful for people who are, for example, the armed forces who are engaged in a lawsuit against the government for giving them the choice of being discharged and ruining their careers or becoming a medical experiment. They were strong-arming and bullying pregnant women, pregnant service members who didn't want to take the vaccine. There's a major lawsuit because of that. It's Valor Legal is working on that. So I guess you should be asking yourself in Ontario, where's our task force? In Saskatchewan, most likely province to follow what Alberta has done, where's your task force? Start asking your government.
And by the way, Sheila, I should just plug our upcoming exclusive interview with Naomi Wolf, who was in Toronto on the weekend for a speaking engagement. She is the author of what I consider to be must-read material, namely the Pfizer papers, Pfizer's crimes against humanity. And she goes into great detail about the special adverse effects the vaccine had on pregnant women, as well as, of course, young, very healthy, very fit males, typically athletes. So this book lives up to the subtitle, Pfizer's Crimes Against Humanity.
Let's go to, we've got a couple of things we want to touch on. Apparently Trump wants to expand the size of the United States. I see that's in the headline. We've got a video on just the tariff wars and all things Trump. So let's, Trump from Las Vegas. We may be a very substantially enlarged country pretty soon.
The United States has the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we may be a very substantially enlarged
I'm not sure that's true.
country in the not too distant. Isn't it nice to see, for years, for decades, where the same size to the square foot probably got smaller, actually. But we might be an enlarged country pretty soon. And one of the things we're going to be doing is drill, baby, drill.
Love it.
Because that's going to bring everything down.
Mark Carney, I know it's not his brand of politics, but in terms of work in a room, watch Donald Trump.
Nobody can. Yeah, he can work a room like Macho Man. Like, he is really good. Now, do they have the largest proven reserves in the world? No, they don't. But I appreciate the drill baby drill sentiment. Now, it's going to take some time before they figure out how they're going to retrofit their existing refineries, because many of them are equipped to handle only Canadian heavy oil. Or the alternative is, I think it's a oil field in Utah that's really not quite developed. They have heavy oil there, or Venezuelan oil. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to opt to take in dictator oil over friendly Canadian reduced rate oil. But the idea that they should be energy independent as a goal, I fundamentally agree with that. I think we should be exactly the same.
Oh, and Sheila, this is not conjecture. And by the way, I would respectfully challenge you about getting things done. When you're Trump, things get done. In his first term, after 70 years of misery, the U.S. was energy independent because of the fracking miracle. In fact, they were exporting energy, as far as I know. And I mean, look what we witnessed last week. People were saying, hey, you watch out for the first 100 days of Donald Trump. First 100 days, nothing. The first
minutes.
100 hours.
100 minutes. You're like swearing him in, and he's like, give me another. Give me another. Just signing executive orders. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I wouldn't bother signing them anymore to save Donald Trump. I'd get just a stamp with a signature on it and go like that. So I think this is highly doable in the next 4 years.
It is.
Yeah.
In the next 4 years, I agree. But in the next 4 years, we better get to building some export pipelines here in Canada. That's all I have to say.
100%.
Otherwise, we're going to be shut right out. Let's bump ahead to this tweet from Ryan O'Connor. So last week, Justin Trudeau said that it would be our patriotic duty to not only destroy Canada's oil patch, but it would be our patriotic duty to switch from one highly processed sugar, ketchup, like a highly processed tomato syrup is what I would describe ketchup as, to another highly processed tomato syrup, because then you would really be on Team Canada. So he said, don't get off the Heinz ketchup and get on the French's ketchup, because French's is Canadian and Heinz is American. Well, it's sort of true. Heinz is, owned by John Kerry's wife's family. He's the first lady of ketchup, John Kerry. But Justin Trudeau was entirely wrong because Heinz ketchup is actually made by Canadian. Like, sure, it's an American company, as so many of them are, but it's made by Canadians about 10 minutes from his door. Like, he's so stupid. He said Heinz ketchup wasn't made in Canada with Canadian tomatoes and therefore could be targeted in a trade war. Heinz had to place ads correcting this irresponsible untruth, attacking Canadian workers.
You know what, Sheila? You might be surprised by my answer here because I think there is some nuance, but hear me out. Until this blew up in the news, I too, like blackface, thought that there was no more domestically made Heinz ketchup going back years ago when they did pull out of Canada.
Right.
And remember, French's ketchup, that became the trendy thing to buy. Having said that, if I were to write an article or do a commentary on Heinz or ketchup in general, or if I was not a journalist, if I was a politician about to make a speech, I would research in advance that I have all my ducks in order. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
considering the Heinz plant is like 10 minutes from Justin Trudeau's constituency office, employing over 1,000 people.
That's unbelievable. And so there is, was I ignorant about this? Like our prime minister? Yes, I was, folks. Did I report anything publicly without first fact checking it? No, I did not, but he did. And either he or one of his staffers, one of his minions, should have said, "Oh, Mr. Prime Minister, don't go ahead with that." I did a ton of research, i.e. a 10-second Google search to indicate Heinz is back in our dominion making ketchup.
You could just be like me and not eat ketchup. And there's more sugar than tomatoes in there if you care about those sorts of things. Just eat a Canadian tomato. Have a Canadian tomato and stay away from the ketchup wars altogether, because the real ketchup war is on your blood sugar. It's on your pancreas. Stay away from it.
Sheila, going back 10 years ago when I was told I had to avoid sugar and I started reading labels, I can vouch for what you're saying. I was in shock at how virtually everything has that, I guess, toxin, if you will, called sugar, highly processed sugar in it. And I will say this, I wish I could remember the brand to give them a plug. Lady Menzoid found me a sugar-free ketchup. Naturally, like everything sugar-free, it costs twice as much, right? What's that?
It's made by Heinz. It's got a.
But here's the thing, Sheila. Like everything sugar-free, you pay a premium. But secondly, this actually, unlike a lot of sugar-free stuff, tastes better than the sugar-enriched ketchup. I swear to you. Yeah, so it's worth paying even if you're not diabetic, folks. Check out the sugar-free ketchup. It's a much nicer sauce.
Yeah, it's made by Heinz. It's not bad, and the sugar replacements are getting better all the time. It's not the gross aspartame taste. It's sugar alcohols now. It's they're a lot better. Anyways, this is not a TED Talk about your pancreas, so let's keep going. We've got this tweet from Elizabeth May. I know we could talk about Trump's deportations, but Elizabeth May, let's bring up this tweet. They are deporting this environmental activist from our country, and Elizabeth May is very upset. Zane Hack is my friend. I'm in awe of his moral courage. Today, Canada failed a beautiful couple, Canadian Sophie and her husband Zane. Zane is being deported for protecting old growth forests and climate. Now, here's the truth. God, I love these community notes. Mohammed Zain Ul-Haq is deported to Pakistan because he violated the terms and conditions of his visa to study in Canada after pleading guilty to criminal mischief. Well, you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. And if his wife is choosing to go with him, that's a marital decision. That's not a political, diplomatic decision. I don't care. I don't care. You broke the law and you were here on a student visa. Get out.
Sheila, so many points on this. I'll be as quick as I can. Could you imagine if you or I or one of our viewers flew to, say, Karachi, and we sat down in a major intersection and snarled traffic.
I'm
like-
glad you bring that up.
Yes,
Because John Rustad brought that up exactly. We'll bring up this tweet and then I'll let you finish.
Yeah.
John Rustad, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, said, if Elizabeth May is not happy in Canada, perhaps she could move to Pakistan. I'm sick and tired of woke, traitorous politicians fighting for students like Zayn who commit crimes. Zayn can go home and commit crimes to protect climate in old-growth forests in Pakistan.
And Sheila, I've seen the likes of Extinction Rebellion here in
Yeah.
Hogtown, and they tend to take over a very important intersection like Yonge Dundas. And what happens is they snarl traffic from every direction you can see. It's just gridlock. Guess what, you stupid environmentalists? When a car is idling, those are the very worst emissions to go into the air, as opposed to a car running at a constant highway speed. So, you're, in terms of the ends justify the means. No, they don't. You're actually causing more pollution. And let's talk about Elizabeth May. Do you think whether it's Zayn Hack or Omar Khadr,
Exactly.
she likes some tall, dark, and Islamic, doesn't she?
I don't know if that's the case, but she loves a good criminal. That woman has sympathy for the devil every step of the way. She's an absolute lunatic.
Yeah.
And she's an American. Let's deport her.
And you know what? And what's the deal, Sheila? I thought she had gone away, but like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, she reemerges. I mean, like, what does she have to prove? Because it's getting embarrassing now.
You know what they say? You can have a decently productive internet cult with about 20 followers. And I think that's what she's got going on there. Remember, the last leader of the Green Party left because of the rabid anti-Semitism at play. So Liz May stepped aside from her cult of one seat. And then they got a new leader, and maybe things were going to change. I don't know, or fall apart. But then too much anti-Semitism, which Liz May is fine with. And so that leader left, Liz May came back, and here we are, wash, rinse, repeat. We'll do this every 10 years till Liz May dies and takes the party with her.
And Sheila, you know something? I could be wrong, but I think I'm 100% right. I think the last leader, and forgive me, her name I can't remember. I think the vast majority of Greens, maybe all of them, didn't realize she was Jewish.
No.
She was checking all the correct identity boxes. Female,
Black
check.
woman.
Black, check. And then she's Jewish. Jewish? Oh my God, we can't have that in our party. Unbelievable.
They ran her off. Because she didn't approve of genocidal actions against Jewish people. She actually thought that the Jews should be allowed to exist in their Indigenous homeland. Speaking of Jews being allowed to exist in their Indigenous homeland, once again, and it's so funny because I joked about this in an email when Trudeau's official itinerary was released. It was sent to myself and Ezra that Trudeau was going to Poland to commemorate the liberation of Auschwitz by the Soviet army. And I said, oh, I bet you he'll forget to mention the Jews again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, he did. I was right. I don't have a crystal ball. I got a crystal brain. And I know Justin Trudeau is loath to mention the Jews anytime he mentions the Holocaust. Remember, I think it was the Canadian Holocaust Memorial that didn't mention the Jews. And so they had to take the plaque down and try again. He did it again.
Sheila.
80 years ago, the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp and extermination camp was liberated, ending the systemic murder and genocide of who, Justin? Of who?
Yeah.
Carried out by the Nazi regime. Tomorrow, I'll join fellow world leaders on the grounds of Auschwitz-Birkenau to honor the victims. What victims, Justin? What? Of the Holocaust, stand against rising anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial, and reaffirm our promise, never again. Except it is again. Never again is now on the streets of Toronto.
Yeah. Let's see. There were gypsies and gay people.
Catholics, a lot of
I'm forgetting somebody. Who can it be? Sheila, I think the bigger story than blackface stepping in it for the third time is the fact that, and I was only listening to this on radio en route to headquarters, so I don't know if this is Canadians or Ontario young people, but it was something like 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 truly
Yes.
believe that the Holocaust is exaggerated, that the numbers aren't there. And this is a scathing indictment of how we have failed young people in history.
I'm not even sure. And I think it is also a problem with our immigration system's failure to screen for extremism. And it's only going to get worse.
And social media, like when you're getting your news from TikTok and you see people of that generation going, Osama bin Laden, he was kind of a martyr, wasn't he? Yeah, he organized, like 3,000 deaths with the Twin Towers falling and
there's
whatnot.
The Mujahideen and all of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And then, of course, Ezra lit these two up, which they rightfully deserved. Let's start with Karina Gould. Karina Gould, without an ounce of shame, says today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, a day to stop and reflect upon the horrors of the Holocaust and take stock of the lessons learned and those we have yet to learn. And what did Ezra reply to this? You're fawning over, this is you fawning over a Nazi SS soldier. That's Yaroslav Hunka. That's Karina Gould. They're celebrating him because he fought the Russians. He was an SS soldier who rounded up Jews and sent them to Auschwitz and the like. So, by the way, Karina Gould, while you're remembering the victims of the Holocaust today, remember that you're holding hands with the guy who made victims of the Holocaust.
Yeah. And Sheila, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Karina Gould was one of these cats like Olivia Chow who keeps saying when there's an atrocity, hate has no home here. Hey, what about those guys every weekend going from the river to the sea and Jews back to Europe and Intifada? Oh, well, I guess we do have a little room for hate here after all. We don't want to be insensitive calling out the pro-Hamas crowd. Absolutely despicable. Karina Gould, look at your own party. Look at your colleague, Yara Sachs, going over to the Middle East and getting nice and cuddly with per se terrorist Mahmoud Abbas. And you dare mention the Holocaust on this day? Unbelievable.
We're not done yet. Because these gals should have just kept their yaps shut. I would not have gone looking for their Holocaust memorial posts. And they probably could have avoided these harsh reminders of their own history. Here's Chrystia Freeland, first runner-up, but also that all means first loser in the Liberal Party leadership race. On Holocaust Remembrance Day, we honor the 6 million Jews murdered and all victims of Nazi atrocities. At least she mentioned the Jews, so that's good. With rising anti-Semitism across Canada and the world, oh boy, I wonder who's in charge to do something about that. Didn't she freeze the bank accounts of truckers? Have we frozen the bank accounts of any of these weekly Hamas hate marchers? No. Anyways, I'll keep going. I am unwavering in my commitment to stand against the hate and ensure the Jewish community is safe everywhere in our country. Really? Really? In Canada's largest city, Toronto, they set up Hamas cosplays in Jewish neighborhoods, and not a peep from her. Nothing. Zero. But Ezra lit her up, as he loves to do. So let's look at that. Your grandfather was a Nazi, a leading Nazi propagandist. He seized a newspaper once owned by a Jew and turned it into an anti-Semitic propaganda outlet. That happened before you were born, and it's not on you. But as an adult, you covered up your grandfather's crimes. Let's show more, please. Can we do that? And then that links to an Ottawa Citizen article where she claimed that it was Russian propaganda that her grandfather was a Nazi propagandist, but it is in the Alberta Provincial Archives that he was. So the Russians would really have to do some time traveling to get that to happen. Let's keep going. We're not quite done. Can we go back to that real quick? Anyway, maybe not.
Sheila, that photo, just for clarity, was that Karina Gould at Yad Vashem?
No, that was Christopher Freeland at Yad Vashem.
Oh, Christopher Freeland. Okay, I couldn't see the. Okay, interesting.
And then Ezra goes on to say, as an MP, you echoed his Nazi symbolism, including wearing a Nazi scarf. That's a Bandera scarf. She held one up and then she deleted the photo because he was a Ukrainian Nazi. So Freeland, being a Ukrainian supremacist, is okay to apologize for any Ukrainian wrongdoings, even if it meant sending Jews to the gas chamber. And then she also gave a standing ovation to the aforementioned Yaroslav Hunka, the geriatric SS soldier honored in the House of Commons by the Liberals and invited into the Prime Minister's office. But as Ezra points out, none of this is as shameful as your daily support for today's Nazis, funding the Hamas front group UNRWA, welcoming Islamic terrorists to Canada, bringing in tens of thousands of unvetted Gaza refugees, and abiding weekly anti-Semitic hate marches on Canadian streets.
Wow.
I see UNRWA was also lit up by the official Israel X account for their aid workers being directly involved in October 7th.
Unbelievable. Sheila, I only make mention of Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, because about 15, 16 years ago, I went there and it was part of a fact-finding mission, and I got a tour not available to the public. It was just for the journalists there. And one of the head curators was talking about, and this speaks to this business where 1 in 5, 1 in 6 think the numbers are exaggerated. I was astonished to find out that when they were originally compiling the names to come up with a number, the number originally was in the neighborhood of 18 million. But they knew this was going to be uber scrutiny. They can't afford to make a mistake. They can't be seen to be exaggerating. So they went through the records and again, and they found out, and sometimes it was duplicates, sometimes triplicates of a death certificate. So they whittled it down from some 18 million to 6. And I'm just saying, Sheila, if you were trying to manufacture Jewish victimhood, you would go for the biggest number imaginable. Sure. Instead, it was the opposite. To be factually correct, that's how that came down to that number.
Right, and let's not forget that these were the Nazis' records.
They were meticulous record keepers.
Meticulous record keepers. That's why you ended up with things in triplicate, thanks to the help of the likes of IBM. They kept impeccable records about the people they were executing. They knew where they were from, how old they were when they got there, how much they weighed. When they conducted the experiments on them, they documented everything, every single step of the way, including the experiments on a Catholic saint. He is a saint now, Father Max Kolbe, who traded places with someone who was part of a starvation experiment. Father Max, though, refused to die. They had to poison him to death because he would not die of their experimentation. So for people who deny that this was true, these are the Nazis' records. This is how we know what happened to so many people, from the tiniest infants to somebody's grandma. We know these were the Nazis' records, and they are held in these museums. Anyway, we've got one Rumble ad read, and then I think we're pretty well mostly wrapped up. Apologies in advance, or not in advance, but apologies to everybody who had to witness my unprofessionalism with my little cat jumping in here.
Are you kidding? That made the show.
He's scratching at the door. Like, he is fierce to get in here, but I haven't been in the studio in a week, so he forgot that this is off limits to his frisky little nature. This sponsorship is from Rumble, and it's one that's incredibly important to the survival of Rumble, but us too. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair, and they treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to the pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Now we're all supposed to believe in Zuckerberg's come to Jesus moment. Oh, we're not going to fact check anymore. anymore. Okay, but what happened to all the people that you censored and had lost their accounts and all their photos and family memories? Because they told the truth on COVID. However, Rumble did not. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving us at Rebel News a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in your human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium, use the code STUDIO. And it's real easy. Just cancel your YouTube Premium subscription. Take those funds, migrate your eyeballs over to Rumble. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us on Rumble and tell your friends. Okay, I think that's it.
There you go. And by the way, as I was calling up the information on the dearly departed Hank, the drunken, angry dwarf, Sheila, talk about a cosmic coincidence. We shared the exact same birth date, April 20th, 1962. But I can only dream about being as famous as Hank, but he was one of the
Cosmic
best
twins.
whackpackers ever, but anyhow, we digress. Folks, that was a wonderful show. I can't believe it went on for so long because it felt like we just started. I want to thank you for tuning in. On Wednesday, there'll be 2 other Rebel News personalities doing the show. Sheila and I would love to be here, but we're just so darn busy out in the field, we can't make it. We will be back on Friday. So until then, stay safe and stay sane.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.